Iliman Ndiaye. Alan Nixon has come out and said that it's possible that Marseille may let Iliman Ndiaye out on loan. I firstly don't think this is even going to. I don't think they're going to even let him out on loan because he's not been great, but he's not been terrible. He's been playing a lot of games for him.
I think he's played 20, hasn't he? I think they've played in all competitions probably 23, 25, something like that. He's played in at least 20 of them. Now, his stats aren't great. It's 1 goal, 2 assists. I don't think they've been overly enamoured with him. And I don't think he's having the best time of it since going over there. But clearly, he's still a talented player. They've spent a lot of money bringing him to the club. And I have to admit, it feels unlikely that they would be letting him out on loan because of how much he's played. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and actually, I think if I were them, and maybe this is me just being biased and me having my blades head on, if I were them, I would want him to try and regain his form with familiar surroundings. And yes, we are bottom of the league, and maybe that will give him, if he comes in and does well, that'll give him a bigger sort of like he's done something, like he's really done something. I can imagine him going to Everton or who was the other team that they were talking about? Crystal Palace.
Everton and
Crystal
Palace,
Palace have got a lot of talented
Injuries.
players on the ball, so I can see him going there. I mean, sat on the bench quite a bit and coming on as an impact
He's not.
sub.
Look, I like Iliman Ndiaye as much as the next guy. He ain't better than Eze or 𝗲𝗍𝗄𝗂, is he? So
No.
to get into their squad, either Eze or 𝗲𝗍𝗄𝗂's injuries are worse than they thought they were, and actually they're going to be out for a long, long time, or he's going to spend a lot of time sat on the bench. It seems unlikely that Palace would be the right place for him. And again, Everton, does he fit into Dyche ball? Like, if you're Marseille and you're looking at what Everton are doing, what's the space for Iliman Ndiaye in an Everton team? Where does he fit that mould? He's not big and strong. He's not going to be physically competitive. He's more of a tactical player on the ball. I don't think he quite suits what they want because he's not a winger. So they're going to want their attacking players to either be wingers or to be big lads who are going to win the headers and really compete. And he doesn't fit either of those molds. And I think that's the issue that he's had at Marseille, is that they're playing him as a winger. And that's just not getting the most out of him. He's a central player. I think he does better with more of the ball in tight spaces rather than being asked to get down the wing and create with balls into the box or anything like that. So I just think the two teams mentioned, Palace and Everton, just do not suit the type of player that Iliman Ndiaye is, because there's no space at Palace and there's no way that he fits the system at Everton. I just don't see that one coming off. So again, maybe it's not working at Marseille. He doesn't fit to their tactical structure. It's not getting the best out of him. Wouldn't get in the team at Palace. Doesn't fit at Everton. There's limited other options, I would say, in the market for Iliman Ndiaye that would love him and cherish him and let him play 90 minutes every week and tell him that he's a star boy.
There's been a lot of Blaze fans as well saying that they wouldn't want him back, and I think that's silly straight away. However, there is something in it because he will be going to AFCON, you would think. Like, yeah, he's not been great this season for Marseille. Like you say, the numbers aren't there, but he still will be going. Unless he picks up an injury, he still will be going to AFCON with Senegal. So we will be missing him for some games if the crazy thing happened and we did manage to get him out on loan. So there is something in that. I get that. I replied to somebody on Twitter and just said there is nobody better for the Sheffield United team right now that's available on loan than Iliman Ndiaye, because the only players that you expect to go out on loan are the players that aren't getting games of football. And would you really want someone that's not getting much of a crack of the whip?
Someone match fit and ready to play, and that is exactly what Iliman Ndiaye would be.
And
I
loves
think
the
there is
club.
risks, and really loves and understands the club. He's loved and understood by the fans. I mean, obviously the summer will have affected the way that some fans feel about him, but I think he would still be welcomed back very, very positively. I think there are risks, and obviously you've highlighted one of them. AFCON, could we afford to spend the money it might cost us to bring Iliman Ndiaye in, to then have him missing for 6 weeks or however long it is? That at the moment for United, it depends how those fixtures falls, because if he misses 6 games and they're Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, fine. If he misses 6 games and it's Burnley, Luton, Bournemouth, Everton, Wolves and West Ham, then suddenly you go, actually, it's not worth bringing him in for the other 15 games we'll have left. So it depends on what he'd be missing for the AFCON. I think it depends on how Wilder would want to use him. Because if looking at our team and our structure right now, where does he fit in that 11? I think last season, obviously, he was playing a lot sort of up there with McBurney. Is he going to play instead of Cameron Archer? I don't think so, because obviously they're very different kind of players. They would be serving a different purpose, but I don't think we would be playing without Cameron Archer on the pitch, given the substantial investment in him, but also given the talents that he brings in terms of his goal scoring, his shooting, the way that he can create something in a similar way to Iliman, but it's a similar skill of creating something from nothing, a completely different skill in terms of how they do it, because Illiman's more likely to bring other players into play, hold the ball up, beat a man, whereas Cameron Archer's going to shoot from 30 yards and it might go in the top corner. And so it's difficult to judge how he'd fit in there. So I don't think he'd play instead of Archer. I think we've got to have a physical presence for the way that we're trying to get forward. So it's got to be McBurney or Rasula. So the front two's fairly locked. Then you look at the midfield. He's not going to play the Vinny Souza role. He's not going to play the Harmer role. So then suddenly you are looking at, actually, it'd be 𝗏𝗂𝐶𝗂 or Ndiaye. They're probably the two interchangeable options. Now, I would say that Ndiaye is better suited to Sheffield United. I would say that Ndiaye is probably the better player right now. I think he could have a bigger immediate impact on Sheffield United on the pitch, but we can't have James 𝗏𝗂𝐶𝗂 with the money invested and with the fact that he's a Premier League domestic loan sat on the bench. So in terms of how he fits into the United structure is a very different question. There will undoubtedly be a place for a player of his quality. We will make it work. Like, I would kill to have Iliman and Ndiaye at United, but if we've got limited funds, I know there's been some suggestions, I think it might have been Nixon or somebody else that said United will be able to spend a bit of money. There's whisperings that United will be one of the more active teams in January, and that would be fantastic. And if the money's available, then yes, let's have a look at Iliman and Ndiaye. Let's look at what these options are, because what United need is players who immediately improve the starting 11. We don't need squad players. We don't need bodies. We need improvements to the positions that we've currently got on the pitch. And Iliman and Ndiaye is an improvement wherever we find a way to get him in the team. But I wonder if we'll be prioritising other areas rather than throwing a lot of money at that move. So I'd love it. I'd celebrate it. But I'm not sure how likely it is that Wilder will be able to focus on him as being the signing that makes a difference in terms of what we've got in the squad at the minute. Where do you think he'd fit, Nick?
Well, there's one player that you've not mentioned in Andre Brooks, and I think we could, instead of using Andre Brooks, we could use 𝗏𝗂𝐶𝗂 off the right, we could use Iliman off the left, and we could have them coming into the middle. And maybe, I think we saw against Chelsea that maybe sometimes McBurney and Archer don't really link up as well together. Maybe that's because they've not played too many games together, with McBurney getting injured a lot and getting sent off twice. I think we need to. I'm not too bothered about the defense. The defense has leaked in so many goals, but it's looking a bit more steady these days. I think we just need more goals. We need to score more goals. We need to score more goals than the other team, which is obviously a silly thing to say, but that's what you need in this Premier League. Like, we're not going to be a team. We can't, for 90 minutes, 95 minutes, 100 minutes, week in, week out, keep a clean sheet. We've kept a clean sheet once this season. So I can't see us doing what we did the first season under Wilder in the Premier League and keeping loads of clean sheets and scoring one goal and winning 1-0. So we need options. We need a lot more options. And I'll be honest, mate, I think that the sort of person that Iliman Ndiaye is, if he got offered the chance to come to Bramall Lane or to go to Goodison or to go to Sellers Park, I think he's coming to Bramall Lane. I think that's just him. So, and I think he'll think that he's got a lot to prove as well, because he'll obviously want to go back to Marseille, get in their team, get to the Champions League, win tournaments, win cups, win leagues, and obviously I think he'll want to give something back to us, because I think deep down he'll feel that he kind of left us in the lurch.
The lurch. And I do think there's something in that. And you're exactly right, actually. We need to find a way to score goals. And so if there's a player available who will help us do that, then we just find a way to fit him in, don't we? We don't faff about with what our system is or what other players we've got. You say he's got to play and he's going to find a way to create chances. There is something in the idea that actually, if you've got 𝗏𝗂𝐶𝗂, Archer, and Ndiaye, Harmer on the pitch, that's not a bad attacking four. If you want to have them driving forward, them trying to control the ball, maybe that gives us a starting point that actually we don't need as much of a physical presence. Maybe we can actually try and control the ball a little bit and actually control the play, because those four are, well, those four have proved themselves too good for the championship. Like we saw last season, that those four were so much too good for the championship that they've got to be worth a shot. If there's an opportunity, we could get those four on the pitch. I think, yeah, I mean, if he's available, we've got to do it. We've got to go for it, because we'd be
Good
silly
try.
not to. But yeah, we try for it. I personally think that the more likely scenario is that Wilder goes in for somebody like 𝗤𝗓𝗄, and I know that's not exciting. It's not the move that fans are going to want, because they're not comparable as players. But I think that's probably the more realistic target. But if Iliman Ndiaye is available, just get him. Just get him in. Just bring him. Just bring him home. Just give him to me personally, and I'll look after him.
Well, actually, you're talking about 𝗤𝗓𝗄. There's another player that we went in for, didn't get, and now he's not playing too much, and didn't start his career at Ajax very well. It's 𝗥𝗏𝗏. The only thing with that is Chris Wilder had Chuba 𝗥𝗏𝗏 at Middlesbrough. I don't know if Cameron Archer was at Middlesbrough. I don't think he was
Not
with
at the
Chris
same
Wilder.
time. Not
No,
with
but
Wilder.
Chuba
So he was
𝗥𝗏𝗏
signed with Carrick.
and I wonder whether they have a good relationship or not, because that could end it if they don't have a good relationship.
He was on the transfer list when Wilder left. He'd absolutely bombed him out, and they were looking for summer moves. And I think Wilder had slagged him off quite a lot in the press. So maybe that one's less of a goer. So I don't think their relationship was the best. But again, does that get overridden by the fact that he would be able to partner with Archer again? And we saw how effective that front two was. Like, they absolutely dominated for Middlesbrough last season. They were fantastic together. And so maybe if the opportunity is there to rekindle that partnership, it's something United would be willing to look at, could go into, because we obviously need strikers is what we know we need. Like you've said, the defence has got its problems. And we definitely probably need to look at structure and training, but I don't think we need to look at players. I don't know what players come in and sort of immediately improve that position that would be available for us. So it's goals. And so if 𝗥𝗏𝗏, if Ndiaye, any of them type of player is available, I'd like to hope that we were in and we're having that conversation, because they could be real difference makers, like an actual difference maker.